Hello and welcome to Navigate Autism with Jane Lynn. I'm your host, Jane Lynn Britton. Today I'm going to introduce you to a new series that you're going to hear a lot about called The Real Moms of Autism. I wanted to help you meet some of us. There are some amazing moms doing amazing things, and you may know us, but probably you don't, because most of the time we don't go out very often because it's just so challenging. And yet there's so many amazing things that we're doing. We are moms, we're working, we're helping out in the community. And I know that you want to know us, and I know that you want to help us, but you just don't know how. So we're going to change that. So if you don't have a child with autism, please stay tuned. We're going to learn some wonderful things today. And if you're a mom of a child with autism, then you're going to find that you're not alone and that you have other moms who you can connect with and learn from and become part of our tribe. So I'm really excited today to introduce you to two fabulous moms, not just because they're moms, but because of what they do. And we're going to start with the brain broad, Lynette Louise. Hello, Lynette.
My brain. Hello, here's my brain.
I love it. And then we also have Stefanie Moore, who's here with me. And Stefanie is, actually you've met her because she's the co-founder of the Mercer County Autism Parents New Jersey Facebook group. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a few minutes. But welcome, Stefanie.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here. Well, you both are just amazing people. And I want to start with Lynette. I wanted you to share with us and to come on this show, again, because you're an amazing mom, but of all the things that you're doing by helping parents and kids with autism. And I've heard about you, read about you. It's like you're all things brain, right? Everything that you've learned in your life, and you're using that to help other kids and parents, which is just amazing. So I'm going to give everyone just a tiny piece of a background for you. And I encourage them to go to your website because you've done so many things. But let's just start by saying that you're a mom of 8, 2 of your own children, and then you just adopted 4 boys with autism, and then later 2 additional children, some with learning disabilities. Now, for me, that was a lot to take in. It's so amazing.
For me too.
Oh, yes, I know. I can just imagine. But add on top of that all the many things that you do. So you have had many odd jobs, including theater, comedian. You studied bioscience. You have a doctorate in biosciences. You do neurofeedback. You have your own TV show and a reality TV series where you've gone to Uganda and are helping this family. And you have the show is called Fix It in 5. So you're spending 5 days with them and really helping them fix some key challenges and issues in their lives to help them thrive like you've done with your family. So that in and of itself, I just want to, just applaud you, and I admire you so much.
Thank you.
And can you tell us, let's just start with that. What is your secret? How are you such an amazing mom?
Thank you. How about if I get a little clarity in Fix It in 5? There's already been 3 different families. There's Uganda, San Francisco, and Israel. I'm editing Israel right now, so there will be 5 families.
Oh,
okay.
That's amazing. Well, thanks for adding that in. Yeah, so like I said, there's so much. I could spend hours just giving your bio. But thanks.
Okay, well, let's not do that.
No, let's not. But so what is your secret for really holding it all together? So again, you're a mom and you have 8, and they've grown, but they weren't always, married and kids and successful. Like, how did you manage all this?
I didn't.
Keep your joie de vivre and vitality.
I didn't hold it together. That's a fallacy. I fell apart a lot. I struggled with neighbors. I struggled with schools. I struggled. But my goal was independence for my children. And when you know what your goal is, then you know how to change as you go, change as you go, change as you go. I'm only educated because I didn't know anything, and I had to keep learning.
Well,
So
yeah,
it's okay. You can be regular. You can say, I don't want autism today, and handle it tomorrow. It's okay.
that's true. That's true. Well, I love that insight because looking at you and hearing all the things you've done, it's easy to think she really's got it all together all the time. But the reality
No.
is that you're human, and that's probably it is what makes you you. But kind of your secret sauce is because you are authentic, right?
Right. And I think it's what makes me good at my job when I go help parents. I love the children, but I adore the parents. I adore their struggle. I adore their bravery. And I adore the fact that they're having to invent the wheel, each and every one of them.
Does that have something to do with your own struggle? I mean, it sounds like you have such passion when you say that, right? I mean, like, you adore their struggle, you adore what they're going through. So is that connected to you?
Yeah, when I was in the throes of it and the kids were young, the hard part was not the kids. The hard part was always the misunderstanding in the world, the dealing with the schools, dealing with the neighbors, nobody showing up to the birthday party. The hard part was the pain of other people having opinions that were uninformed. So I want to walk into every home knowing they deal with that and beginning from that place. And that's why, it's from my struggle.
There's such understanding there. And I know that it obviously came from your own experience with every child and everything you've done. I had not even mentioned yet the fact that at one point you separated from your husband and you were in a shelter with your kids. What a big learning experience. At one point you were homeschooling your kids and traveling in an RV across the country.
Best thing I ever did.
I can imagine, actually, because I was leading to kind of our connection, which is the Sunrise program and the Autism Treatment Center of America, which helped me gain confidence to homeschool my son. And one of the best things we did was starting going into the community, doing field trips and bringing the world to life for him. And so you were doing that through this RV travel experience. But let me ask you, you said it's the best thing in your life. Why is that?
Well, when I went to Sunrise, I remember talking to Samaria and saying, well, but I can't do one program. I have to do at least 4 at one time. And she's like, I have no idea how you're going to do that. She's like, I don't know. I mean, and she just froze. And I walked out of there thinking, well, the elements that matter are an environment where everybody's loving and accepting, and availability to experiential learning. So I went resort to resort in an RV, and every time neighbors or other kids were bullies or neighbors got annoyed with us, we went to a different resort. Right? So I created a happy world for my kids who had previously been in schools and bullied and all kinds of nonsense. And all of a sudden, not only were they in a happy world, but we were off season. They were the only other kid to play with. So they learned how to play games they would never have been invited to in school.
What an amazing idea. Yeah. So, when you have these challenges, sometimes you're forced to be creative, and you really were, and finding a way to bring what your kids needed to them and teaching them. And they're now very successful, as I understand it.
Yes. I mean, one boy was multiply handicapped and part of his brain was missing. So he's still dependent and at home. But Chance is a helicopter mechanic. Cash is a welder. Rye has his own little landscaping business. He's really just a lawnmower,
but that's wonderful. They're independent.
That's great.
You achieved with all that you had. You achieved the goals you set out for, which is amazing.
Yeah, no, it's very well. Dar was a goal. I would like his speech better. I would like him to make it to a group home. So he's still very much a part of my motivation.
I love that. And at some point you, like I said, you got your doctorate in biosciences and learned neurofeedback. And I'm guessing that was a big part of even your own children's development. But tell us a little bit about that and how you're using that today with kids with autism and other disabilities.
Sure. When I was doing Sunrise, I knew that there wasn't enough in it, that it was gold, but there was more. I wasn't going to reach star. Rye was going to keep having Tourette's. And I read about neurofeedback, and I thought maybe this, combined with a sort of recreated version of Sunrise, would be gold, and it was. So I went for another certification. And in order to work internationally, I had to start to understand even more about the brain and all the different disabilities, because I was working with families. So back to school I go. And it evolved word of mouth. Everybody improves. I never come across a family that doesn't. That was such a big thing to realize. And realizing it's so easy to help things like ADHD and depression, it felt like malpractice in the world, that we didn't share better. So I decided to share via cameras.
What a wonderful thing. Now, Stefanie and I both, at least I know neurofeedback. I'm not sure if Stefanie does, but many of our viewers may not. Do you mind just explaining briefly what that is?
Sure. It's biofeedback for the brain. And biofeedback simply means, at its simplest form, you're able to see your own inner physiology, get information through technology, like a computer screen. And that information about how you're functioning is shown to you, and you will change. The reason you will change is because that's how your brain works. It goes, wow, it's hot out, I better sweat, right? It just takes the information from the world and changes itself accordingly. But it's often misinformed. So we inform it how to balance itself by looking at the algorithms and saying, gee, in this area where you're supposed to be speaking clearly, you're processing sound wrong. The balance of brain waves is it's inaccurate. It's maladaptive. So we reward the brain with a reward tone every time it corrects in the right direction. And that's neurofeedback.
That is amazing.
Yeah.
And do they come into your office? Is it something that they come in for, or they can't do that at home, right?
Yeah, I don't do that. I go to the homes.
Oh.
And I get them the neurofeedback, and I oversee it. I teach them how, and then I oversee it via email. So I know as a mom, what I couldn't do was that drip, drip, drip of every day, constantly trying to do the follow through. When I was going to a speech therapist or an occupational therapist, I'd wear out. I could get lots of money together for a big thing, but I couldn't keep going on this drip, drip, drip. So I designed my business in a way that says, here, lots of money at the outset and then free for life. And that's been amazing.
Interesting. So you come from a place of knowing what worked and what doesn't, and you created something that would help.
And if you're having a tantrum, if you're dealing with a tantrum issue or a discomfort of some kind, you don't want to tell the child, wait 3 days for your appointment.
Right.
Right?
Exactly. So you're right there holding their hand, helping them through it, which is great.
Yeah.
That is
wonderful. Or the equipment is.
I'm sorry? Oh, the equipment is. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. We did neurofeedback for a little while with William. We took him to a practice and did it, and we did see some great things. And then the interesting thing is when we started Sunrise, so a Sunrise program is where you really stay in your home for forever, for that period of time that you're doing it. So we stopped doing all these other things, but it'd be interesting to try it again.
Yeah, it's a great combination.
That's wonderful to hear. So one of the things we learned at Sunrise, and you were a child facilitator, so you worked with a lot of kids and a lot of parents while you were there. One of the things I remember...
I'm a mentor as well.
And you were a mentor as well, so you really helped them go deep. And actually, that's kind of leading me to my question, so thank you. So the mentor is almost like a coach or a psychologist, really, is where you're really asking deep questions and getting them to understand their beliefs and their attitudes. And what I was going to say is that I realized how much of our children's growth really depends on the beliefs and attitudes for the parents. And since you know it so well, would you mind just explaining that a little bit, please?
Stefanie, may I use an example from the video?
Yeah, sure, absolutely.
Did I put you on the spot? Are you really okay with it?
No, I really am okay with it. That's absolutely fine.
Good. All right, so I was watching a video with your child, and he's saying the same thing over and over again, and your answer or response is, I don't know where you put it. Something like that. So if you believe in that moment, geez, I'm a tired mom, I just don't know where you put it. That'll be your answer. If you believe in that moment, if I don't tell him, he'll dig in his own brain for the answer, then that's what you'll tell him as well. But if you believe in that moment that he doesn't yet know how to think in a chain of events, once he's stuck in that little ritual, then you will plant the next seed for his thoughts. And so in this one little example, I can tell you that your belief will drive your response. Imagine that and multiply it out by 1 trillion. Does that make sense?
It does, actually.
Okay.
Thinking about it.
Yeah, and actually, that would have been my feedback. If I was in your home, I would have said, well, here's the problem. With a neurotypical child, we say to them, I don't know where you put it. They disconnect from us. They go, oh, mom's no use. I'll use my own brain. And they start to think it out. When a child with autism is stuck like that, they don't. They try louder, they try pushier, but they don't know how to disconnect, go into their own brain and say, okay, where was I last? And a lot of people worry about becoming prompt dependent, so they won't help. But if you help correctly, then in fact, he won't get stuck in that loop.
That makes a lot of sense. It makes a big difference thinking about that moment now and realizing that that's what I was doing, trying to figure out a way to get him to think on his own and figure it out himself, but he just doesn't know how to do that, so I need to figure out a way to help him learn how to do that.
Right, and with neurotypical kids, we usually say, let's think backwards, right? And there's nothing wrong with something like that that matches him. I'm going to make this up. It's probably not going to fit. Oh, I don't know where you put that. But when you came home from school, you went straight to the bathroom. Let's check the bathroom. So you're inviting him to come along, and that's already a situation of unstuckness.
I see what you mean. Yeah.
Okay. And of course, multiply that out 1,000,000 times.
Now that is wonderful because it's a good example, because what we're saying is that how we show up and how we respond as parents drives the opportunity for success for our children. If we believe they can accomplish it, they will. If we believe they can't, they won't. If I'm tired and like, I just don't know, right? We're leaving them stuck, like you said. So that's perfect. In fact, I think we should, in a minute, transition to this best opportunity where Stefanie is going to get a chance to ask a few questions for Lynette to give her some advice. Okay. But before we do that, I'd like to take a brief minute for health. Did you know that something as small as seaweed can remove mercury from your body? Now, we all know that mercury is something that's big with our children with autism, but I also learned that we all have mercury in our bodies because we pass it on from generation to generation. And that's one of the reasons that our kids have so much more of it in their bodies. I recently read that Atlantic dulce seaweed, actually, when you eat it, it binds itself to the mercury and will not let it go until it leaves your body. So that is a safe and easy way to help cleanse your body from mercury. And all you need is 1 or 2 teaspoons a day. Hello and welcome back to Navigate Autism with Jane Lynn. I'm your host, Jane Lynn Britton, and I'm here with Lynette Louise, the Brain Broad, and with Stefanie Moore, who is a fantastic mom and co-founder of a Facebook group here in New Jersey. And we're just about ready to hear Stefanie ask some questions for Lynette, and Lynette's going to give some of her insight from her many years and passions of helping parents and children. So go ahead. What's your burning question?
Well, thank you. Well, so with Brody, he has autism and ADHD. So a lot of times with both of them, I'm getting a lot of inattention, and he has a lot of challenges with his expressive and receptive language. So when he's trying to communicate something, he just has a hard time, and then he has a hard time processing what I'm saying to him. And I just don't know how to get over these things or what kind of steps to take to help him. I just don't know what to do, and I was hoping, based on what I've read and a lot of different things that you have going on, and you mentioned the neurofeedback and play therapy and working with families, and I just wanted to know how that could work for me and how I could maybe make it overlap in school for him as well.
Okay. So play always works. Always worked. Time eternal. When you're in play, you're in experience. And I would say autism's an experiential disorder. Too often we take them and put them in a scholastic circumstance and ask them to learn something over there and generalize it to real life, and this doesn't work well. So anytime you play with him, you're going to make it more useful, and you'll waste less time. So you were in a video and you were getting him to write the date.
Yes.
What was the purpose? I didn't know. I guess he knew it was practice, but it didn't have any bearing on his life in that moment except to make you happy.
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of has a small window of opportunity. But if you had a game going, let's say that he likes, blocks. So he likes to line up blocks, and you're making a book, and it's going to be all the different lineups of blocks over a year. And you're going to take a picture and you're going to put it in a book, and he gets to look it over and over again. Now you have a reason to date. And putting the date on there would be his piece. So you want to make it driven by his passion, not his disability. If it's driven by fun, it stays and it generalizes.
That makes sense.
When it's driven by sit in a spot, it doesn't. Now, ADHD, OCD, and autism, they're bedfellows. Telling you that your child has ADHD and autism is like saying he's got one of the other, OCD or ADHD, so therefore he's got autism. I mean, it always comes together. I've never met an autistic person that didn't have one or the other. So it seems like a magician's trick, something to distract you with.
Mm-hmm.
He's autistic, and he has focus problems because people with autism do.
Makes sense.
Right?
Yeah.
In play, he's less likely to be ADHD.
Yeah, and he'll be invested in what we're actually doing. I see where you were
Right.
going with that, and that's something else that I was going to ask, how to really get him to move on and be invested in something. And if he's not enjoying it, if there's no purpose,
It's the purpose.
which I find for him, he is very good with things that have a distinctive beginning and end. So he basically knows the purpose. So then he wants to get to that end because there's a reason for it.
Right. When there's a purpose too, it'll generalize into the place you want it to.
Mm-hmm.
So otherwise, he's just what they call giving the dog a bone, right?
Yeah.
Like, well, Mom likes me to do this. I don't know why, but I will.
But I'll just do it.
Right? And so then he just waits and waits for his time to leave the table and run around and be autistic.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so you're actually accentuating his difference rather than decentuating it.
That makes sense. Thank you so much.
So we're almost out of time, but is there one quick question you have, this burning you want to ask?
Yeah, do know that neurofeedback would really help with the focus part.
Yeah, I was going to ask really what can I use that for, specifically for him? That's really going to help with that. Yeah.
Yeah, the sensory issues and the focus are strongly helped by neurofeedback.
Okay. Thank you.
How many
and anxiety.
A quick question, Lynette. Most people, how many times, let's say they're not in California with you and they're going, I know it might depend on the practice, but approximately how many times a week do children get neurofeedback?
Well, when you're doing it in the home, it's different.
Mm-hmm.
You get to do it according to need. You take long breaks. Problem in the field with a clinic situation is you tend to go 3 times a week for up to 60 sessions. They can't ask much more of you than that, so they say, I guess that's the best we can get. Or you go for thousands of sessions, pay way more money than if I'd have come in, right, at the end. And they're still not as able to be as sort of hands-on in the moment reactive, because it can't be, oh, you're having a hard day, let's just help you right now. So it still takes longer. It's a hard question for me to answer, but generally in clinic settings, you would be asked to do it 3 times a week for about 60 sessions and then reevaluate.
All right, that sounds about what I remember. And how can people get in touch with you, Lynette, if they want to learn more about you and what you could offer them? Do you still take clients? Patients? No?
I'm kind of winding down from taking patients, but I have people I've trained. And I'm, handpicking the odd one. I'm finishing up with Fix It in 5. I'm still looking for 2 families for that. They get that free. And you can go to my website, brainbody.net. If you want me to come and speak and do a workshop and train you, that's LynetteLouise.com.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming and sharing about you as a mom and about you as a professional who's passionate about helping parents and kids with autism. We're so blessed that you're here and helping us, so thank you.
And I'm blessed that you shared. Thank you. And Stefanie, thank you for openness.
Oh, thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Stefanie, for coming, because it's not easy to be vulnerable here and on TV, so we really appreciate that.
Thank you for having me.
You're welcome. And thank you for joining us, and I look forward to bringing you more real moms of autism. They're going to be sprinkled in all the different shows so that you can really get a behind-the-scenes look at who we are, what we're doing, and what it's like living with autism. I look forward to seeing you next time on Navigate Autism with Jane Lynn.